People often read as a form of escape, to get pulled into the shiny armour of a valiant hero, or to breathe the old western air. When I was younger, reading was also an escape for me. Escape the mundane, escape the limits of physics and reality, to leave behind the routine of school. To some extent I do still read to escape, or at least I try to. But as I've gotten older and it's become harder to escape the hardships and responsibilities, it's become more of an extension of reality rather than an escape from it. I know that's not me saying I believe or imagine myself some amazing superhero or antagonist. Instead, as I read, while I enjoy the actions and magic systems of the fantasy genre I so dearly love, it's the characters' thoughts and emotions that I feel projected from myself. I imagine, how could I process what's going on? What would I be thinking of if this was me? And life has felt as though it's been thrown onto me recently, and it becomes a lot. Too much to process, too much to handle, too much to think about, just too much. And I try to journal and express my emotions, try to open up that sealed bottle, but it just always seems to escape me. So instead I find comfort in the author's words, their ability to articulate the emotions of these complex characters. With nothing more than ink on paper, they can release and inject these thoughts and feelings for us as readers to process. God, if only I could do that. And maybe that's what reading has become for me now. Not an escape, but a mirror. A guide for feelings I can't quite name on my own. When a character feels as though the whole world has turned against them, I recognise the feeling of helplessness. When they lose something and the author writes about that specific kind of silence that follows, I think, yes, that's it. That's the thing I couldn't say. It's like borrowing someone else's vocabulary for your own life. And somehow seeing it on the page makes me feel seen. Like if someone could write it down, could shape it into sentences and paragraphs, then maybe, just maybe, I'm not alone in this battle. The book that first enlightened me to this change in relationship with stories was The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss. I've spoken about this book once before on my channel, and I know I will again many more times in the future. But now seems like the perfect opportunity to talk about why it is my favourite book of all time. And it's this exact topic that is the reason. Though the story is placed in a fictional world, the characters with their dynamics, personalities and relationships to each other and the make-believe world around them just felt so real. If you haven't read the book, I honestly suggest you click off this video and add it to your to-be-read list, or better yet, grab a copy now. And I'll try to keep things vague, but fair warning, there are some light spoilers ahead. So the story follows a now innkeeper named Kavoth, whose innocent childhood, which began with such pure curiosity and passion, was drastically altered after his tribe was killed by beings of very little are known about. Prior to this though, we as the readers are introduced along with him to the magic system of this world, and this on its own was also a favourite aspect of the story, how the magic system is extremely grounded and has its own set of rules and physics which are not complicated but very interesting. So after his loss, Kavoth is motivated to find out more about these beings and is headstrong in attending the infamous university in order to progress in his talents and utilise their resources to aid in his findings and ultimately his revenge. And it's not just a story built on or guided by his single mission of revenge. Rothfuss takes the time to develop the characters, their relationships and the world building, but not by dragging it out, but exploring it in a natural and well-paced manner. In hindsight, the first part of the story did feel very slow to me, and a little bit off pace. It felt underwhelming by introducing this intricate and complex character as a boring and unambiguous innkeeper. But looking back, I wouldn't have it any other way. It was necessary and gave us more depth into his journey, or the journey he was about to take. And as he continues to tell the story of his youth, one of the most prominent portion was his time in the city called Tarbin. I think I'm pronouncing that right. We'll just go with it. This is the moment which caused a switch in my brain to flip. You see, after the event of losing his tribe, we see him struggle and drag himself through these feelings of grief and loneliness, and on his journey to find stability and safety, he ends up in the city of Tarbin. And much like in today's worlds and cities, it is full of both arrogant and the wealthy within the centre, and also the unfortunate and rough populations on the outskirts. The reason this moment of his life stands out to me is that this is where I was able to fully appreciate the talent of Patrick Rothfuss. We were shown how Kavoth learns to adapt himself to thrive and live through this challenging and difficult part of his life. We see him face off against life and death, not in a daring or fantastical way, but in a realistical manner. He battles against those who try to take advantage of him, who bully him, from the unfriendly rich and rough townsfolk to the tyrannical legal system. We see him learn to understand the hierarchy of the society. And the way Rothfuss explains his emotions and thought process wasn't fake or unrealistic. It was raw and relatable. And you're probably thinking, Waseh, how would you know what it's like to feel this way? And no, you're right, never to this extent, thankfully. And I don't want to talk too much about it. But I have had the experiences in my childhood where me and my family had become homeless, and it felt desperate and just helpless. And these parts of my life I have never, genuinely never been able to talk about until recently due to circumstances. And even if I wanted to, I could never imagine being able to describe it in a way others could understand and relate to. But that's enough of my story. But this is the part of the book that really woke me up. And believe me, it only gets better from here. I won't go through everything that happened in the book, but of course one of the most profound journeys occurs during his time at the university. And that also made me relive and enjoy that feeling of actually being curious, of having to deal with those insensitive classmates or difficult teachers. And I just think there's something truly special when a book truly connects with the audience in that way. Regardless of the genre, from fantasy to sci-fi, just the character being able to have, well, the human nature makes it so much easier to connect with them. And this is the first book that has well and truly allowed me to feel every single thing that the character went through, and it was an amazing journey. And since reading Name of the Wind and the sequel, The Wise Man's Fair, I've really returned to my passion of reading books. It's just that now I process it a little differently. I appreciate the author's ability to express feelings I could only dream of articulating. So I guess that's just what reading has become for me now. A sort of release. And if you stuck with me through this whole video, maybe you understand that too. Maybe that's why we're all here, looking for these stories that help us make sense of our own. So let me know, why is it that you guys enjoy reading? And what kind of things do you guys like to read? Any suggestions would be appreciated. And until the next one, fi amanillah.